Hi, this is Marie. I'm one of your marker pop colorists. I have a mini tutorial for you today. Aloha from the beautiful sands from Maui. I'm still on vacation, but I want to be able to share another Copic combo with you today. And there are three things that I'll be reviewing on this mini video. One will be the Copic combo Mauve shadow. The second will be how I place some folds in a dress that has no markings or no lines for folds. You just create your own. And my third thing I'd like to share with you is how if I go over the line slightly, I will be able to correct that with a colorless blender. I hope you enjoy this mini, and let's get started. Our mauve shadow color combo today will be BV23, 01, 00, and 000. I think this is one of my favorites. I stamped my image with Memento on Express It, and I'm using the image by La La Land Crafts called Paper Doll Marci Hearts. I'm going to have my highlight coming from the very front. The shadows will be on the sides. You'll notice how her little skirt does not have folds in yet. I'm going to actually just start laying in a little bit of shadow area and establishing where I want my folds with the BV00. A little bit different. You'll notice on some of my other images, I cover the entire image with my base cover, my lightest base, to allow an easy blend. But on this case, I'm going to want to establish folds and to reserve my white to the very end. Now just play with this. You can try this on some scratch paper initially if you'd like, with a little pencil. And that way you can erase and everything, but do not put a pencil underneath your Copic marker. And I like where I have my folds so far, so I'm going to go ahead and use my very darkest shadow color, and I'm going to place that right on top of where I mapped my folds. And I'm starting with very short lines, you'll notice, because we'll be extending those as we progress on our coloring. I'm taking my next lightest, my BV01, and I'm blending out just ever so slightly, flicking toward the highlight, but not very far, because you do not want to obscure that white area. You want to reserve that. We're taking our next I call this one of our light midtones, and continuing that process. Blending from the outer edge, flicking up and toward the highlight in the center. You'll notice our little V triangle shapes are getting larger and larger. Pretty soon they'll be kind of merging into one another. This is so fun to see it take shape. One of my favorite things to do. Now we're going to go back and we're going to darken the center a little. This process takes longer than just applying highlight and shadows, because you do rework your folds a few times, but you will love this technique. Do you see how the folds are taking shape, and we're just working them right on in? You can also do this technique by starting with your highlight areas, but you'll get a very different look. I think this is probably my favorite. is working with the dark shade first. And again, we just keep repeating that process, moving to your next lighter color, flicking small little flicks toward the highlight and up a little. And you can see how the folds are now beginning to touch one another. The V shape you can still see. You have great definition. We've left our white to the very end. We will color the white over very lightly as our very last step, but we won't do it until the final step. We will not leave it white because this dress with highlights is a blue-violet colored dress, and it won't have white highlights. But we do want it to almost appear white, so we're going to be doing probably our very lightest, our BV000 when we're ready for that. So watch closely and you'll see that happen. We're just continuing to extend and darken. We're always working our process now from dark to light with our folds, and each time we extend it a little bit more, and you'll really get the flow of that dress. Remember when we started, it was like totally flat, very non-dimensional, and now we have folds all over starting on this beautiful dress. Very lightly. And I frequently, when I'm using my lightest color, I also clean off the top of my nib. Now on the upper part of my dress, I'm just laying down my very lightest color, my BV000, just to allow for that easy blend. Reverting back to the techniques we learned earlier. And now I'm actually applying my shadow side. If you are more comfortable mapping your shadow to begin with, you can use the technique I showed you earlier on this upper part of her dress, where we take a mid-tone and just begin to map the shadow area, and if we like it, then we can apply the BV23. And then you flick out from the darker shade toward the highlight, and you have a very small area in which to get your shading in, so you want to use that shadow very sparingly, because the thing you really want is a contrast from the very dark to the very light. That will draw the viewer's eye to your image. And now I'm pleased with this at this point, but you can see that I'm a little bit out of my line where the bottom of the heart is, right there. So I'm going to take a colorless blender, and this is a pusher. It's not a blender. It's poorly named. It is a pusher or a mover of color, and you just gently push out toward where you want the color to go and let it dry. And you may want to repeat this process about 3 times, but let it dry in between, and it will just move the color you do not want out of the image. And this is my finished little Marci. I hope you give this a try. I hope you try this color combo. It's my favorite. And thank you for watching. If you see it on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe.